Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. If you're new here, my name is Shea and I've been living in Bologna, Italy for the past year and a half studying Italian. I mainly make language learning videos and share things about my life here in Italy. So in today's video, I want to talk about some things that I've been missing from home, how I deal with homesickness, am I homesick, and just some things I've been thinking about recently. I wanted to share these so hopefully if any of you are interested in moving abroad or already are and you're experiencing some of the same things, at least you know that everyone goes through it and you're not alone. So just for context, I am originally from Arizona in the US. I was born and raised there, and then I moved to Los Angeles for university, and in total I was living there basically for like 6 years before I came to Italy. One of the biggest things that I noticed is that homesickness comes and goes, and it really shows up randomly when you least expect it. In the beginning, everything was new and exciting, and I was basically constantly distracted by new experiences, new foods, a new city, a new way of living, culture shocks, all these kinds of things that actually, it kind of took my mind off of being homesick. And I remember thinking like the first 6 months of being here, like, why am I not super homesick? It's so weird that it hasn't hit me yet. It also could have been because I previously lived abroad for a few months at a time before, so this wasn't my first time, but still, it was very interesting to me that I'm like, when is this gonna happen? And obviously, everyone's different. For me, the homesickness definitely started to settle in around 6 or 7 months. Also because I found it a little bit difficult in the beginning to make friends, which is something that once you finally have a friend group, it definitely is a lot easier because you feel like you actually have a place in wherever it is that you're living. So before I had some friends established, that also contributed a lot to feeling homesick. Then after like the 6-7 month mark, I got back into the feeling of, okay, I really feel settled here. I got around the holidays time and it was fun. Then basically right at the year mark is when I went back home to visit the US for about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit less, honestly, like 10 days, I think. The interesting thing is that when I was there, I couldn't wait to get back to Italy. I realized how much I had adjusted to life here in Bologna, and I really missed it so much. So even though I was super homesick, by the time I got there, I was like, you know what, actually, I want to go back to Italy. And now, interestingly enough, around the year and a half mark, I have been recently getting some homesick feelings again. I think it mainly contributes to the fact that we're getting to the holiday time, and that usually always makes me think about stuff that I used to do with my sisters to celebrate and decorate like for fall and stuff like that. I love this time of year in the US because I love decorating, I love baking like fall recipes and stuff like that. And I think it just brings up a lot of memories of stuff that I used to do with my friends and my sisters. So obviously I miss that feeling, and it brings up a lot of nostalgia for me, which I think is what is making me feel really homesick right now. So speaking of fall, one of the things that I realized last year as well is that I miss being in the US for fall because we are crazy about fall decor, everything pumpkin spice. I know it's ridiculous, but I am one of those people that absolutely loves it. I know it's super basic, but I love it. And obviously, it's not a thing here at all. Pumpkins, pumpkin spice, pumpkin flavored things. Also just like decorating for fall in general is not a thing. But my sister and I, when I lived with her in LA, we used to go all out. I'll put some pictures up of our apartment, but it was amazing. And it made me so happy because it's so cozy and I just love it so much. I love decorating, and I actually want to order some things here. Usually I have to get a bunch of stuff online. Maybe I can go to some like home stores. There are a few stores around here that sell some things, but obviously not to the extent of like Target that we have in the US, which Target, Home Goods, this time of year is just like I miss it so much. And I also ordered cans of pumpkin puree because I love baking with pumpkin stuff like pumpkin bread, pumpkin muffins, even just pumpkin pie. I wasn't able to make pumpkin pie last year. I really wanted to, and so this year I definitely want to. I will, I'm going to. Also, I want to use the pumpkin to make some sort of like pumpkin latte, pumpkin coffee drink. We'll see, okay? I don't know how it's gonna go because, again, I don't have access to everything here, but we're gonna try, okay? Because I'm gonna bring the fall vibes here. Even if I'm not in the US, I'm gonna make it happen. Okay, enough of that. Another thing that I miss, surprisingly, is driving. And I know some people are probably like, but you lived in Los Angeles and isn't the traffic terrible? Yes, of course, it's literally terrible. And I have been stuck in traffic so many times on the freeway, just complete stop. I don't miss those days, but I miss the feeling of being able to run errands and playing your music and singing along to a song or listening to a podcast. But here in Italy, I'm actually not allowed to drive because if you want to drive here in Italy, you need to have an international driver's permit, which is something I did not get before I left because I didn't even think about it. I didn't realize, and I also was like, I'm not going to drive there. Also, most of the cars here are stick shift because everyone here basically drives manual, and I have no idea how to do that. I've never learned that in my life because, as most of you probably know, in the US, we really only have cars that are automatic, which I prefer. And if I wanted to rent a car, some places do have options for automatic, but I think they might be more expensive, and also it's just harder to find. It would be better if I knew how to drive stick shift. So as of right now, I will not be driving here in Italy. Also, I don't want to because Italians, the way they drive is very terrifying. And the way that I see the roads and how they drive on these tiny little roads, I can't do it. Don't even get me started on parking. I don't know how they park here. I was already a terrible parallel parker. I can't even imagine trying to do it here. So I just don't think driving is in the future for me here in Italy. It's the most simple thing, but sometimes I really loved in LA just running my errands in the morning or throughout the day, going to get coffee, going to do some shopping, going to Trader Joe's, which Trader Joe's. If someone asks me like, what's the biggest thing you miss about the US? Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's at the top of the list. And I think if you don't know Trader Joe's, then you don't understand the obsession. But Trader Joe's, like, when I got back to the US, the first thing I did, I was like, I need to go to Trader Joe's immediately. Like, it needs to be the first place I go. It was my favorite grocery store, and there is nothing that comes close to Trader Joe's here in Italy. The food quality here, amazing. I love it. I have no issues with it. I have felt better than ever. I don't have stomach issues. Great. But Trader Joe's is just so unique. Like, I just love their new products all the time, especially this time of year, fall, when they're coming out with all of their fall products. Like, I miss it so much. If I could teleport back to the US for a day, it would be just to go to Trader Joe's. The next thing that I miss is living near a beach and also just like nature in general. The last 2 years of living in Los Angeles, I lived very close to the beach. Like, my first place, I could walk there, and then my second, it was like a 5-minute drive. So very close, also very, very grateful. I never took that for granted. I loved going to the beach and it was perfect. But now it is a little bit hard because actually I've never lived for a large portion in a big city. And I know you're probably like, Los Angeles. Yes, but I didn't live in the city part where you're constantly surrounded by like all the city noise and the buses and you walk everywhere, because in LA no one walks anywhere, you drive everywhere. So also just adjusting to living in a city, which I had never done before, because also in Arizona you drive everywhere, it's a desert, everything is very spread out. I think that was hard for me as well. And you can find spaces here, like parks here. There's a main park that's pretty close to where I live, and it's nice to escape the city. But like I said, being from Arizona and having a ton of open space, and then also in LA where you have the variety of like, you can go to the beach. There's a ton of hiking trails that I really loved. You also have access to the city, but you don't have to live right in downtown or Hollywood. I loved when I lived in the beach cities. It was more residential. I think sometimes I get super overwhelmed, and a lot of times I spend all day working at home. I don't even venture out that much because sometimes it just feels super overwhelming. Even though Bologna is not a big city, it's not like I'm living in New York or anything. It still can be a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot of sounds and people, and it can be a little bit overstimulating and overwhelming, I think, sometimes. We do have the Colli here, which is the hills, but it's just not super easy to access them unless you have a scooter or a car. I'd have to take a bus and then walk for a while to actually get up to the hill, and if I want to bring like blankets and books and picnic stuff, whatever, it can be a lot. And sometimes, again, I think I also miss having a car. Okay, this one is interesting because it's something that I miss but also don't miss. And I'm just gonna call it stuff in general, just stuff. One of the things that I realized after moving here is that Americans have so much stuff. And when I moved here, I got rid of everything. I sold basically everything that I have on Facebook Marketplace. It was a very nice purge. It was very freeing. When I moved here, everything that I had was in 2 like checked suitcases and 1 carry-on, and then I had 2 plastic bins that I left back in the US. That was it. That was all of my belongings. It was a very freeing feeling to not have a bunch of stuff. And then when I got here, I definitely didn't accumulate more because I was moving around so much. Before I found my first apartment, I had lived in 4 different places in Bologna. And even my first apartment, finally I was there for I think about 10 months. And it was already furnished, and there were a ton of random like trinkets in that apartment anyways. So didn't get that many things. And I think it's interesting because as Americans, like, we're so used to buying a ton of stuff or a bunch of like Amazon products or things that you don't need. Like, yay, consumerism. I know it's so bad because people just buy so much stuff that they don't actually need. But in a way, it's kind of comforting to have some things that are yours that make your space feel like home. And everywhere I've lived here, I've moved in, it's already been furnished, it's already been a certain style, and I haven't been able to make anything that's mine. Became really aware of this again when I went back to visit the US after a year of being here, and I visited my sister and then some of my best friends, and I saw like their apartments, and first of all, super adorable, super cute. I'm so jealous. Their interior design and decorating is so cute. But again, I realized they had so much stuff, and even just like cute decorative things, so many candles, so many like skincare stuff, so many Amazon kitchen gadgets, things in the kitchen, so much. And sometimes it's a little overboard. I think you don't need all of this stuff, but at the same time, sometimes it feels like, I said to my sister when I was there, I was like, your shower feels so luxurious, because when I went in there, it was just like this whole plethora of so many different things that I could choose from. All the different body scrubs and stuff. I was like, this is excessive, but also, again, I feel so luxurious. And so I think it's a simple thing, but if you want to treat yourself with some nice little extra things, for example, when I came back, I ended up getting like this vegetable chopper thing off Amazon because I would get so frustrated having to like slice all the vegetables all the time. And I remember I decided to get one of those from Amazon because I was like, okay, this is something I will actually use. It's practical, and it is like some gadget that maybe you don't actually need, but it's really helped my life because I'm able to chop things a lot faster now. So just things like that where I thought, okay, if I really do feel like I'm gonna use something, I shouldn't be so worried of like, oh, I shouldn't accumulate more stuff. I don't need to be like that anymore. But at the same time, if it, like Marie Kondo says, if it brings me joy and if it's useful, why not get it? I still have that American inside of me that wants to like buy stuff. And then speaking of stuff and decorations, one thing also that I've noticed that's different is just like interior design in general. As I have been apartment hunting yet again, I have definitely gotten my fair share of seeing so many different styles of apartments here. My first apartment that I lived in was not nice by any means. It was not super fancy, and I still really enjoyed it because it was very cute and quaint. And I liked the style. It was like a very old, traditional Bolognese style building. I just care that there's a place that's bright and safe and comfortable, basically. I don't need it to be super modern, super minimal, cold, like I don't even like that style when it's too intense. But some places are really just so strange. Like, you have some very, very nice modern places that are very expensive, or you have some that are listed online with pictures that I'm like, this literally is someone's great grandmother's home that has not been changed for like the past 200 years. Like, it's so crazy to me that like sometimes I'm just like, one of those things where I'm like, do I feel like this place is maybe haunted? Because some of them are like, you know, an older antique feel, like, oh, you should just enjoy like the rustic. When you come to visit Italy and you want to go to Tuscany and you want to stay in a villa, okay, that's so cool. Yes, you're staying there, but you're only staying there for a little bit, okay? You're not actually living there. The thing is that places that are old and haven't been maintained are gonna be really frustrating to live in because they're gonna have problems, things that you have to fix, maintenance issues all the time. The thing is, with my first apartment, I had so many issues. The kitchen sink handle fell off all the time. The shower was super weird. Sometimes there was like barely a trickle of water. Sometimes it was ice cold. It would randomly get ice cold or super hot throughout the shower. There was like, you know, things with the light switches. Some lights didn't work. Sometimes they did. There's just so many things where it was like very obvious, even when I was trying to clean, that the house had not been well maintained. So when I tried to clean, it was like no use because the dirt and stuff is just so caked in here. I was like, I can't. Cabinets were kind of coming undone. Like, that is the thing. People are like, oh, it has charm. But yeah, at this point, I want to be comfortable and I want somewhere that's just bright. It doesn't need to be fully renovated. I have found some apartments that they've like redone all the kitchen appliances and it looks great and it's a nice space, but just something that's working, that's not like super dark or feels like I'm living in a hole. But it's a little bit hard to find stuff like that here. And truly, like, if you wanted to browse some of the Bologna apartment listings, you'll see that some of the decor and the little like tchotchkes on the wall, I'm like, is that Does that come with the apartment? Is that little doll on on the shelf gonna be there when I move in? Like, anyways, wish me luck with this apartment hunt because I'm really trying. Hi, so I'm editing this video right now, and as of right now, I did actually find an apartment. I got the call a few days ago that I got the apartment that I applied for, so. And then last but not least, this is actually something that I don't miss, just speaking English in general. I think some of you think that, okay, I moved to Italy and now my whole life basically operates always in Italian. That's not true. I actually do find myself speaking English a lot here because I have other American friends here, so we get to speak English together. Also just like keeping in touch with friends and family, social media in general, the shows that I watch. Like I still get a lot of English, so it's not super fatiguing on my brain to constantly be thinking in Italian. Of course, I speak Italian every day just because living here, if I have to go to the store or figure something out, I'm exposed to Italian every day. But I don't feel this need of like, oh, I just want to speak in English because I still can. English is everywhere. So it's not something that I miss. Like when I went back to the US, I wasn't like, finally I get to speak in English. Honestly, it felt a little weird. It felt weird when I went into restaurants or coffee shops and the people there spoke to English. They spoke to English. They spoke to me in English. When I ordered my coffee and stuff and they're so chatty, I was like, just get me my coffee. I don't want, why are we chatting about my day? I don't, yeah, so it was actually a little weird. I was like not used to it. I kind of preferred at this point because I have everything down, you know? Like I have my script down in my head of like, this is how it goes when I'm at the grocery store, they ask you for a bag, you know, all this kind of stuff that I'm like, I got it now. So this is how I operate my life. But then I still have everyone else at home that I talk to in English, social media, shows that I watch. Okay, so of course that's not everything, but these are just some of the things that I thought of recently. I hope that you found this video interesting. Maybe if you have some comments or if you've experienced living abroad, some things that you missed while you were abroad, definitely let me know in the comments below. And I will see you all again very soon in my next video. Bye!